Hello, everyone. We are going to get it started momentarily. We've got everybody waiting and queued up on this side. I just want to give a couple more minutes for everybody to get logged in and get started. So we'll get started momentarily. All right, hello everyone. My name is Trevor Pope. I am the Customer Success Manager here at CoderZ. I'm also the Competition Master for the Cyber Robotics Coding Competition. I am very happy to welcome you to this interactive session. Thanks for being here today. I wish all attendees will understand more about inclusiveness in STEAM education. Before I introduce our teachers, we have some big and exciting news that I want to share. I'm going to wait till the end of this session to share that with you, so stay tuned to the end for that. And I'm going to start with a couple of poll questions here. So let me start by asking you guys what your role is. It should be up on your screen now, so I'll leave that up for a minute or two. I'm collecting responses here. I'm seeing a lot of teachers. That's great. Some STEM coordinators. We'll give it a couple more seconds here for you guys to finish clicking, and I will throw a second poll question at you. You guys did really great on that first one, so let me confirm that you guys are you interested in teaching coding and STEAM skills through virtual robotics? Holy smokes, you can see all the yeses on my screen here. That's great to see. I'll give this about 5 more seconds or so for you guys to finish wrapping up your answers. Awesome, thanks guys. All right, let me introduce you to our speakers today. Michaela Durand is a technology integration specialist for Trumbull Public Schools in Connecticut. For the past 6 years, Michaela has developed and offers instructional technology education for both teachers and students. Sarah Trotta has been a teacher at Madison Middle School for the past 7 years. She teaches a digital literacy course where students learn digital citizenship and new emerging technologies through virtual resources. Together, they lead the Mad Coders Code Club, which currently includes more than 70 students. I had the opportunity to visit their schools a couple of years ago, or their school a few years ago. It was really awesome to see how engaged they were, how active the students were. They do this as an elective. It's not a forced course, and the students just sign up for the coding club and have at it. So it's really great to see their engagement. It's one of the reasons we wanted to have them on as speakers today and tell more about their stories. For those of you who are not familiar with CoderZ, CRCC, and Intellitech, let me tell you a little bit about us. Intellitech has been a pioneer of robotics in education for more than 30 years. Our cyber robotics coding competition uses CoderZ as an online platform that allows students worldwide to program 3D virtual robots, both in the classroom and in the CRCC, the Cyber Robotics Coding Competition, organized by the ISCEF Foundation and sponsored by CoderZ, among others. CoderZ makes learning STEM with robotics accessible, affordable, engaging, and enjoyable for all. To get more information about the Cyber Robotics Coding Competition or to learn more about CoderZ, visit gocoderz.com or follow CoderZ on our Facebook and Twitter accounts. A couple of technicalities before we begin. You can add your questions in the question box located in that GoToWebinar control panel on your screen. Michaela and Sarah will do everything they can to answer as many of these questions after the webinar ends. So keep those questions coming. Let me get this started. I'm going to stop talking and throw it over to Sarah and Michaela. The audience is all yours. May the code be with you guys.
Great, thank you. So first, Trevor just kind of introduced us, but I guess, speaking for Sarah and obviously myself, we just wanted to say that when we thought about doing this webinar a month ago or 2 months ago, we're in a obviously completely different situation. now than when we started planning this webinar. So our school has been closed for about a week now, and CRCC has just been an amazing part of keeping us connected to our kids through our code club. And so Sarah and I are gonna, start off the presentation talking about how we're using CRCC through our distance learning model. And as Trevor said, we both work at a middle school in Trumbull, Connecticut, and we have about 900 students in our middle school, which serves grades 6 through 8.
So some of the topics we're going to talk about during the webinar, probably most relevant to us right now, is how to engage students in coding during distance learning, which we're all experiencing right now, how to engage all students in the program, how robotics competitions help us reach inclusiveness, and how to close the gender gap in STEM education in a practical way. As you may notice, Michaela and I are both females.
So the first thing we want to talk about, I guess, is something that's on everybody's mind, since I know so many of us are currently teaching remotely. For us, we have had a really great club this past school year, which Sarah and I will kind of go into depth of how we were able to get a bunch of kids interested in the club. But we use Google Classroom as our platform to communicate with our students. And it's nice because students at all times of the day are commenting in our Google Classroom, watching the leaderboard, seeing if we're moving up or down, posting, their domino challenges, and it's kind of giving them a virtual home even more during this time that we're apart from them. Yesterday, we just posted a little thing in Google Classroom asking if they wanted to share any videos of themselves at home coding. And one of the kids, took a little video of his domino challenge where he wrote, "I love CRCC." And the students really love it because they feel like they have even more time to code now than they ever have. And since it is self-paced and they can kind of, go at their own speed, they are just kind of loving having the amount of free time to do that. So.
Okay, so kind of starting back at the beginning to get the ball rolling with this in the beginning of the year, we'll talk a little bit about how we promoted the program. So as soon as the year began, right off the bat, we started with morning announcements, and we got our Google Classroom up and running. We shared the code for the classroom over the morning announcements, and we put flyers around the school. So if you look at the slide, you can see the flyers on the right. Our school also hosts a club fair, so we made sure to have some of our students who were in the club last year kind of talk to all the other kids about how much fun they had last year and encourage them to join. But I have to say, one of the biggest things this year that we didn't do last year was bringing the flyers to back to school night. And the way our school does back to school night, for teachers like me, we kind of all head to the cafeteria and we get an opportunity to meet every single parent. So as I introduced my class, I also had a flyer ready to go for this cyber robotics coding competition, and I had a sheet for them to sign up with their emails, and I made sure to follow up with parents afterwards. So I think talking about it, like getting the parents involved at back to school night, was really successful for us as far as getting greater participation this year in our club.
So one of the things that we did from our very first meeting is we showed videos of last year and of students participating in the competition. And we also reached out to teachers and the guidance counselors to ask about students who would benefit from participating in the program. One of the things that Sarah and I have found is we have a lot of students in our club who might not necessarily have a lot of friends or have found kind of a good outlet for them if they feel like they're not as much into athletics. We've had some students that are kind of apprehensive, especially our sixth graders, about doing coding. Our middle school, we don't have a computer science curriculum at our middle school or at any of the 6 elementary schools that feed into our middle school. So the teachers individually kind of teach some lessons through Hour of Code or some other programs, but it's not really a formal program, and they can't really take a computer science class at the middle schools. So some of the students are kind of apprehensive about joining. And so we found that at the first few meetings, really trying to stress that it's totally fine if you're new to coding. We can kind of help you through it, and kind of giving this team mentality. One of the pictures shows one of our science teachers at our school, and a lot of the students really loved having their teachers get involved and encourage them. Kind of having certain teachers recommend them for the club, I think, made them feel extra special.
Okay, so you can see from these pictures that was our first club meeting. So we had a lot of students join. We had a pretty good turnout, and I think one of the reasons for that was because we actually had licenses for the whole school. So in addition to promoting it, we got permission from our administration to have everybody one day, everybody in the school, sign in and start coding. And we had some of the teachers sign in and code, and all the students got an opportunity to try it. And I think that maybe we caught even more students who wouldn't have normally stayed after school for a code club because they thought it wasn't for them. Having that opportunity to try it during the school day and see if they liked it or not kind of gave them that extra push that they needed to come. And as you can see from the pictures, we got a pretty good turnout.
So one of the things that Sarah and I really love about CRCC is just how easy the program is from a tech standpoint, that we don't have to download any software. We have tried lots of programs in the past, some virtual programs, and also just some physical robots using Edison robots. What else have we used, Sarah?
The Vex robotics,
Okay.
which is kind of like a bunch of little Lego pieces to put together, hardware.
And so we had a lot of trouble with some of the actual hardware robotics kits, just because if Sarah taught it in her classes, she teaches 6 periods a day on a day 1, day 2 rotating schedule. So sometimes, the kids would build something and they would be like really close to getting the robot to do something, and then the bell would ring. But then since we wouldn't have enough kits, then they'd have to take it apart. And so we found lots of limitations with the hardware, and even in other programs that we've used. So when we first got CoderZ last year, we could not get over how easy it was. Just, getting the kids to log in. It gave them a link almost like they would to join a classroom. And so we would just post it in Google Classroom. Within, 4 minutes, they were all in and up and running. And so the ease to use it is a huge factor. And if you're a teacher listening to this and you want to try this out for the first time through distance learning, for most programs, I've been telling the teachers in my district, let's kind of use what we have. But this program is so easy to implement and get started with that you could, get it started even if you physically weren't with your students.
So Michaela had talked before about kind of like building up that we're a team with this code club. And I think that also helped this idea of inclusiveness and getting everybody involved. So one of the things that we would do is give kind of shout outs to individual participants at the end of every club meeting. And they would be anything from, the person who went the farthest that day to top girl coder to most helpful coder. So we really tried to get everybody involved. And we gave out prizes like t-shirts from last year. Jolly Ranchers were a big incentive. CoderZ was great enough to send us stickers, and something like that was something that the kids loved. They put them all over there. We have Chromebooks at our school. So they covered their Chromebooks and their stickers, and it just helped kind of feed that idea of we're all a team. We gave them shout outs on the morning announcements. So every day we would remind them where we were in the competition, and we'd shout out to certain students. And I think that just helped. They said they liked the recognition within the school, but I think it made them feel almost like they were on an athletic team or just part of something big, and it definitely made the students feel good about themselves. We also like to get feedback from our students all the time, so we use Google Forms through Google Classroom so that we could determine the best days for students to meet. Again, because this program is accessible online, we really emphasize to the kids that you didn't have to come to the club meetings to participate. A lot of the students who we got initially are part of a lot of clubs. A good population of our students are pretty high achievers. And so they couldn't necessarily come. I mean, there was a point where we were meeting Monday, Wednesday, Thursday every week. So they couldn't come to every meeting, but they could participate at home. They could communicate with us through the Google Classroom, and they could give us their feedback through the Google form. So just their ability to kind of code from wherever they were definitely helped them participate.
So like Sarah was just saying, we kind of made our club meetings similar to athletic competitions. This picture of two of the boys in the bottom corner shows that even while they were completing missions, they would have another Chromebook open with the leaderboard. So I think on one of these kids' Chromebook, he has like the New England leaderboard for maybe the clubs, and the other one might have been the leaderboard for schools overall. And so they would love watching during our code club meetings, watching it refresh in real time. And, you know, they would all just start screaming like, we're going up this many points. And so in the end, like going up until the very last night of the fall competition, we were neck and neck with a school in Rhode Island. And so the kids all through the meeting and all night through Google Classroom, like they kept announcing like, we're down by this many points or we're up by this many. So kind of having that scoreboard visible really kept them motivated. And we would have our students kind of review what we called like the plays for hard missions, and they would share their strategies with other kids so that even if you had already completed all the missions, those students always still attended the club meetings and they would offer assistance to the other students. One of the things that we thought was, you know, very sweet of the kids where they were always like, we're not telling them the answers. We're only going to help them if they're really frustrated, and we won't tell them what to do. And so they were really adamant kind of about the team mentality of helping us all move ahead as a club.
Okay, so if you look at the picture with us in the green t-shirts, I kind of talked before how we gave out t-shirts from last year, but just to also build up that team mentality, Michaela and I are wearing them right now. These are our green Mad CoderZ t-shirts. So it just kind of helped everybody kind of have that sense of unity and be on a team. And as I talked about before, we gave shout outs on the morning announcements to our top coders. You can see a group of our coders coding on the ground on their Chromebooks. They would code on the ground, at the lunch table, in the auditorium, wherever they could. They would get on and code.
So Sarah and I learned a lot from doing the program last year to this year. We were able to get a lot more participants and just kind of change our approach. And I think one of the things that was a huge key to success for us was utilizing the early dismissal days. So in our district, we have early dismissal days for parent-teacher conferences. And I know, I mean, personally, as a parent myself, I have 2 kids. Those early dismissal days are like the bane of my existence because I just don't know what to do with my kids. There's a lot of programs, you know, that obviously won't have those half days where they offer childcare. And so one of the things that we did, which I think helped the parents and the students and helped us, was we offered that students could stay at school on an early dismissal day. And so one of the days we had them fill out a Google form, and we had students, we got them pizza. One of our local pizza companies donated a bunch of pizza, and so that's why they had tried to spell CRCC with the pizza slices. If you can tell, they at least spelled CR for cyber robotics. But the students were really into being able to stay and all code together during that time, and it kind of made it feel special, and the parents loved having their kids be fed on that day and have a place for them to go. And so it was kind of a winning situation for everyone.
So this was just another group of pictures from that after school day, and the parents were really appreciative. They even sent in baked goods. So I don't know if you could see on the bottom, but that's a little sticky note that says, congratulations, Mad Coders, because I think they were just very supportive and pleased that their kids had a place to stay. And you can see how many students we got to show up. And one thing I wish we had a picture of, but we don't, is something as simple as we got a microphone for the afternoon. And we just kind of had some of the kids take turns on the microphone and kind of shout out what place we were in. And every time we would move up a place, there was an outroar of excitement. And every time we would move down a place, everybody would kind of huddle together and get working. It was kind of every time they'd get distracted, we'd see what place we were in, and then they would pop right back into coding. And they even organized themselves by tables. So on their own, they kind of leveled themselves based on what levels they were on, and you could see they're kind of huddled around certain tables. So that was just by what kind of group of levels they were on in the qualifiers, I think it was at that time.
And one of the things I think that the baked goods is also kind of symbolic of is we've found that this club that the parents really appreciate. I run some other after school clubs, and I find that specifically this one, a lot of the parents kind of reach out to us and they say, you know, I'm really glad that my child is being exposed to computer science concepts, and I really have no idea like where to start with them or how to get them, you know, interested in this. We kind of, in our area, we have this one company that offers some coding summer camps, but it's really expensive. And so a bunch of parents said, oh, this is so great to kind of see if my child is into it. Thank you so much for doing this. So we found that the parents have been really appreciative of, you know, having their students attend code club meetings. So this was probably the best day of this school year for our students. Was doing the in-school finals were a new part of the CRCC competition this year. So we can only bring a certain amount of students to our the finals, which we'll talk about on another slide. But the in-school finals, we took the students out of class for 2 periods and they all competed against each other. And if you can see on the screen that we had up in our auditorium, CRCC gives you an actual scoreboard just for your school for the in-school finals. So the students were really into coding for these 2 hours. We used a Google form and we asked what type of prizes they wanted from this experience. So some of them were really into getting Rocket books or, you know, these cases that they could zip on their Chromebook case zippers that held their AirPods, and just some spiritware for our school. This also not only got them really excited and got them all to participate, but it also selfishly helped Sarah and I decide in a fair way who got to go to the final competition. We were invited to bring 6 students, and we kept a Google sheet of who attended code club meetings so that we could kind of look at a bunch of data and say, you know, these students were the ones who attended all the code club meetings. They placed really well in the in-school finals. So it just kind of gave us more information to help make that decision more fair.
So to make the students feel even more important in our in-school finals, we actually had our administrators come and we did kind of a formal award ceremony at the end. So we made certificates, and they were, you know, top coders. We had top female coder. We also had most supportive staff member. So we really tried to get the whole school involved. Our counselors were there. We had some people from our technology department come, and we actually got our principal to hand out the award. So it felt really formal and really important to the students. And you could see we took a picture in front of the screen at the end with everybody together in our shirts. So I think it just also helped them feel like a team, and just another example of kind of unity within our coding club.
So before this, Sarah and I had kind of tried a variety of ways to get the students interested in computer science. We had hosted a district-wide hackathon where students created apps using MIT App Inventor for local nonprofits. And we also tried to have, during Computer Science Week in December, students from our high school and from other local high schools come in and talk about computer science opportunities. But even after doing these things, you know, these one-day hackathons, a bunch of different programs, like I said, that we've tried, I've found personally that CRCC is kind of the program that's kind of helped it stick and have them really take an interest in it because they can go at their own pace and they feel like there's not much risk in trying. Like to sign up for a hackathon in our school district, you had to commit to, a 10-hour Saturday. And so sometimes I think that kind of overwhelmed the students. But kind of having opportunities like CRCC through our code club, I think got a lot of students invested in feeling like, oh, I could try this out. And if it doesn't work out, I'll just stop going to code club. But kind of giving them that, I guess, time to do it without taking much risk really helped.
So you may notice that Michaela and I are both females running this club, so we are constantly trying to get more girls to join the club. We have noticed, Michaela does another kind of technology-driven after-school club, and I ran this club last year, that when we first put it out there, we get a lot of male participants. So we've had to go out of our way kind of to expose our students to females coding. So we've had Hour of Code presenters come who are females, try to show female coding role models, people who are working in the technology industry who are females. We actually had a high school student from our town's high school who was running a girls coding club at the high school come and talk to the middle school students. And I've gone as far as to even approach some of my female students who I think would just be into it, and I give them class time to just, I'll say, instead of doing your activity today, you can try this cool robotics program, and sometimes that'll make them feel special and that will hook them onto it. So it's just taking that extra step. Sometimes I think females sometimes look at cyber robotics, that's not for me, and especially when they see that most of the students attending are boys, it's good to have kind of female role models. A lot of the teachers that we had coding that we reached out to were females. So just the more they see it, I think the easier it is for them to buy into it. And then don't be afraid to kind of go out and reach out to the girls, and something as silly as like candy as an incentive or stickers or something just to get them to try it. And then I think they realize that, oh, this could be for me.
So like Sarah said, just lots of positive reinforcement. I think both were shocked this year, just kind of what kids would do for a Jolly Rancher, like just having them come to Code Club and check in. They would be so excited to just get small incentives like the stickers from CoderZ. And one of the things that's great about CRCC is that they encourage you to bring a mixed gender team to the finals. So last year and this year at the finals, we had females on our team. And I think that made the girls in our club feel like even if they didn't score in the top 6, that we would still bring our top female coders. I think got them excited. And then I think just exposing them at a young age, like we found this year that a huge majority of our new students were, new incoming 6th graders. So I think kind of getting them when they came into the school building and saying, do you want to try this out? We found that most of our students that join in 6th grade continue with Code Club for all 3 years, which is great.
Okay, so these are some pictures of our pair coding, and Michaela had mentioned before that our students in our club are really adamant about not giving each other the answers and kind of working together to get them to be successful. And I think having the finals at the end of this played a role in that, because in the back of their minds, they were thinking like, we're a team. If we're going to participate together, we have to all be able to do this. And if I just give somebody the answers, then they're not going to be able to kind of hold their own in the future if we do make this future competition. So I think kind of pairing the students heterogeneously was helpful. So basically, and that was even so simple too, because as soon as our first group finished, they were excited to keep coming to the after school clubs so that they could be like the helper. It was pair coding, but they were the helper coders that kind of went around and got all the other students through levels that they were having struggling with or having issues with. So you could see that there in the pictures. And then again, I think it was huge having having the software instead of the hardware, having worked with that in the past as far as accessibility for all students. I noticed one of the biggest issues with the hardware was, like Michaela was saying, with the software, with this program, it's low risk. It's low risk, but it's high reward. With the hardware, if you came across an issue or you came across a problem, you'd have to take the whole piece apart. So I found that our middle schoolers weren't necessarily mature enough to handle that kind of obstacle at that time, where they'd put all of this effort into something and then it was a major thing to take it apart and try again. Whereas with a program like this, if they mess up, there is a consequence. You might not be as high in the ranking, but it's something that you can overcome and continue to be successful with. So I think it was a more realistic program for our middle schoolers.
So one of the things that our students really loved last year and this year was that we were able to send students to the finals. So in Connecticut, it was held at the University of Bridgeport, which was conveniently very close to the town where our school district is in. So this year we were able to send 6 kids to these finals, and they were grouped in pairs of 2 students each. And this was like the highlight day for some of our mad coders. They really enjoyed it.
So here's a picture, Trevor's actually in this picture, of the beginning of the finals, and there was actually a shout out for students who had completed all 103 missions, and we actually had a high number of our students on that list of 26 Connecticut finalists. A good percentage were mad coders, and then they all were able to get a certificate and get their picture taken up front. So again, they were recognized for their hard work, and that was kind of part of the reward of participating in a program like this.
So I think another thing that made it special was we had our principal come at the end of the day for our awards ceremony and our coordinator of STEM in our district. So I think it made our students feel extra special. One of our teams of 2 students, which they named themselves the Malfunctions, came in 3rd place. So they were really excited. They got $1,000 scholarships to the University of Bridgeport. So I think that also made them feel really special, and they're really excited to be able to use those scholarships. In the picture with our principal, they're holding up the 3rd place trophy, and it was very cute how after they won it, one of the students was saying, but there's only one and there's 2 of us. And one of the students had an idea to put it in the trophy case in the front of our school with all of our athletics trophies. And so they're very proud that this, glass plaque is now at the entrance when you walk in our school.
So we actually got written up in our local newspaper for something like this. And again, that just added to the recognition for them and for us and for our school. So it was nice to be noticed by the town for doing something like this and running this program, and for the students to be noticed for how well they did. They should have felt really proud about themselves, but it was nice to be rewarded in this kind of way as well.
And we also brought the students to a Board of Ed meeting where they were also recognized, and I think that made them feel very special. So kind of our final thoughts before we all take questions is that inclusiveness can be achieved in any setting through excitement and accessibility. When we wrote this slide, we never imagined that we would now be doing CRCC, remotely, so that any setting part really rings true. The picture in the bottom left-hand corner of the student holding the Chromebook, that was his reaction during the in-school finals when he was able to complete a mission that he had been working on for a while. And so for me, that picture kind of sums up CRCC, just the excitement and the level to which the students can get engaged. Like I said before, I facilitate a few after-school clubs, and it's funny to say this, but this club is by far the easiest to facilitate. It's so student run and the students are so into it that Sarah and I are just kind of like background facilitators, making sure they're safe and, they meet at a certain time, but really the kids just run the whole thing. And even now, You know, I can't stay up as late as these students, and it's fun when I wake up in the morning logging into our CRCC Google Classroom and seeing what they've been up to all night. So we would obviously really recommend the program, and you know, we're not saying that we're not endorsing them for any other reason, but it's really been a very positive addition to our middle school. So I think that's it. Sarah, you have anything else to add?
Yeah, no, I think that's it. Just that this was so accessible and so easy to use. And I understand how it can seem like if you don't have a coding, I don't have a coding background. And when I started this last year, I was nervous doing it for the first time because I didn't have that coding background. And I just want to really emphasize how, just like Michaela was saying, how student driven it is. They're able to find their own solutions. There's kind of like a teacher side of it that helps you if you get the kind of school licenses. And for somebody who doesn't have a coding background, and our school doesn't necessarily have a huge budget for STEM things, we don't have a huge maker space, we're not one of those schools, this was really easy to use.
Great, thank you very much, guys. What impressed me most is your inclusiveness, and this started as a after-school coding club that you brought into your library and had it part of your library period. You also made it part of your advisory or that study hall in the free block, and students were recruiting other students to participate. Just to see that engagement level and the excitement about that engagement level is really great to see from an outside perspective, just to see how excited your students are there. I'm going to give you ladies a quick break and ask some questions of our attendees here, and then we'll get to some questions for you guys. I've got a bunch. There's a whole bunch of questions that people asked of you, so I'll get to those in a second. But I do want to ask our attendees if your STEAM classroom is inclusive today. This is great. We're seeing it's exactly 50-50 from our poll results. And we'll give it a couple more seconds. All right, I'm going to close this poll and ask my final poll. Do you guys want to hear more about CoderZ and CRCC after this webinar? Do you want us to reach out to you, give you more information about the product? Excellent. All right, so I'm going to close the polls. Questions from our audience. The first one's from Lisa. Can you use any of these things with actual robots? I think she means the CoderZ program, which is compatible with the Lego EV3 robot. So if you are using the Lego EV3, there's a standard educator build that you can build with those kits, and the CoderZ is compatible with that EV3 brick or that EV3 brain. So any coding that you do on screen or virtual coding, you can actually download to that hardware and run on that EV3 robot. I'm not sure if you guys are doing anything with hardware or not. It sounds like you're more virtual than anything. Question from Maria is, we currently have a robotics club where we make actual robots, the MBot. How easy was it for you to shift to a virtual platform?
We use the MBot too, and it was very easy to shift to a virtual platform. I would say the biggest decisions we had to make were figuring out what usernames and passwords to pick for the kids and how to organize things like that. I mean, beyond that, it was so student driven. So we do use some hardware, but this is just so much more accessible that a larger group of students use the virtual software than the hardware.
You mentioned VEX. Was that IQ or EDR?
IQ.
Okay. Let me get back to the questions. From Linda, I teach physical robotics in school, but now we need to teach online. We are looking into CoderZ until the end of the school year. Is CRCC running an event right now? Linda, that's a great question. We started a spring 2020 event that was started in February. We're kind of wrapping up a competition phase and transitioning into a qualifier phase right now. So that may be not the right time with you, but I do have a great solution for you. So stay tuned for more details as I'll share that with you in a few minutes. Here's a question from Ben. What do you recommend we do in my robotics class to have more appreciative parents? How do we get some congratulation cookies? Was there something you guys did to engage the parents? Did you send newsletters home? Did you, I guess, how did you get them excited about their kids participating?
I mean, I think
oh, sorry, Sarah.
Okay, I think what,
go ahead, you go first.
Okay, I think one of the biggest things I did differently this year from last year was that back to school night thing. I think speaking to the parents and matching a face to the person who's running. A lot of times the kids just stay after school and their parents don't, in our district, and their parents don't even know what program they're staying after for. So having that parent contact information and being able to kind of place a face with the club, I think helped a lot. And then we use Google Classroom in a lot of our classes. So once a parent joins as a guardian in Google Classroom, they can see what their students doing in every class, including their clubs, whatever their students participates in. So they were able to they could pop onto the classroom whenever they wanted to and kind of see what we were doing. But even just, I mean, that after school thing made a big difference in a lot of parents' lives. So if you can do anything like that that takes a little bit off their plate, especially now, I know being home as a family together and trying to work, how stressful that is right now. So just anything to take it off the parents' plate, I think is beneficial for them. Got us some big.
Yeah, I mean, as Sarah was saying, using Google Classroom as one of our venues to communicate with them has really helped. The parents in our district sign up for the parent guardian notification emails from Google. And so a lot of the parents would get, the email from Google that would have our Code Club announcement in it. So I think that would kind of keep them connected, and they could say to their kid, oh, are you staying after on Thursday? We also really showcased what we do in our Code Club through our school social media accounts. We have a Twitter and an Instagram, and CRCC is very active on social media. So kind of, tweeting out accomplishments from our club. I think the parents, they would see them on their own social media accounts, and I think they would get excited that their kids are participating as well.
I'm going to combine the next a couple of questions into one here. The first is, I guess, from Michael and Doreen. What is required to start this as an after-school program or even during school time? And did you charge a fee for your club? If so, how much?
So I think one of the parts that's so great about CRCC, besides, how easy it is to use, is it's actually probably the cheapest program we've ever used. We were able to get funding in the fall and the spring through writing a grant. Right on the CRCC website is a little blurb. They actually kind of like write a sample for you. And so like in the spring, we got 35 licenses for our Code Club for $250. And so we found, just because we're having a lot of budget problems in our school district, that this was something that outside sources were willing to pay for, and it wasn't that much money. And I already forgot the second part of the question.
Did you charge a fee to students or parents for them to participate?
No, we didn't charge a fee for anything. Not even our shirts. We even had the shirts paid for by the company that paid for the licenses.
Excellent.
I don't know. Yeah, if you have anything to add.
Nope, I'm just trying to get organized with the questions. They're still coming in, it's crazy. More of a technical question that I'll answer are from Jim. Our district is being very stringent about vetting the terms and conditions for students under 13. Is this an issue with CoderZ and the CRCC competition? The answer is no, it is not an issue. CRCC or CoderZ, the software used for CRCC, complies with all of COPA and FERPA federal laws. We do not collect any personal information from any students under 13 years old. We do ask for parental consent. If a parent does not provide consent, a student can still participate as an anonymous user. If a parent does provide consent, then the student can participate with a real username and be seen in student leaderboards. Question from Maria: did you start initially with a competition, or did you have a period where students just learned coding virtually?
We got students in right away, and because the competition didn't start for a few weeks, we exposed my classes, which is about like a third of our school, to the program until the competition started, and that also helped to promote it.
Excellent. From Steve, does it work on a platform other than Chrome? Chrome is the preferred or recommended browser. It will also work with Windows 10 on Edge. If you're using Safari or Firefox, it will not work. So we do recommend either Chrome or Edge for CoderZ. Question from Heidi: is there a lot of training needed on your part?
I'd say I've never had to do less training in my life to run a program.
Yep. Our biggest conversations were how to take attendance and just how to organize the students' usernames, passwords, and booking places to house them all within our school. That was probably the biggest.
From a kind of a behind the scenes perspective, we need to find more teachers like you who are just willing to dive in feet first and say, I'm going to adopt this program, I'm going to bring it into my school. I wish there was a way for us to say how easy it was to implement and bring into your school. And I think just kind of, word of mouth and people saying it's really, really easy is probably the best way to do that. Let me see, I'm losing my questions. From Ashley, a question is, does CoderZ work at the elementary school level? From a lot of what I've seen through webinars, it seems to be geared towards middle school. Actually, the wheelhouse or the recommended age is that middle school level, anywhere from 5th to 8th grade. It will work in the elementary school level, but at the same time, when we've noticed that when elementary schools get frustrated, instead of kind of trying to figure it out and have those wheels spinning as to how to solve a problem, you see a lot of hands go straight up in the air for those elementary school kids. So it's a little harder for that elementary school teacher to manage that with all the kids' hands up in the air, but it will work in that elementary school level, depending on your patience and how structured and how structured the classroom is. Question from Chris: I cannot do an after-school program. Do you think class time will be enough time for kids to work?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I did it in my classes with my students. I used it as an incentive for some of my students in my classes. If you finish this, you get to code. Like we were saying before, we have kind of a block in our day where the students have some flex time and they coded then. So I think a lot, I even hosted a lunch, they come and eat lunch with me now and code during lunch. So they love it so much, they'll do it whenever they can.
Yeah, I was gonna add that, it's great to see you could start it as a classroom program or as part of your club or in your library, kind of wherever, and then you'll notice the engaged students say, oh, can I come in during my free period? Can I do this from home? And it's great, you can access it from anywhere you have the an internet connection and a web browser. Really, you can go and complete your missions and move forward. And I've got one last question from Edie. Can this be used as a curriculum in a computer science program? I teach K-6 computer science at my school.
Yeah,
I would think more for the upper grades. What do you think, Sarah?
Yeah, I would say at the middle school level, I tried it for a couple, probably like 3 weeks in my classroom. For what I had to teach and for me to meet my curriculum standards, I couldn't only use that. So it was just an aspect of it. But we're currently looking at reevaluating our tech ed program And this is a program that one of our teachers was looking at. So depending on what your standards are, what your requirements are in your school for your program, I think for like a unified arts class or something like that, it could be used.
Excellent. I think that wraps up our questions. So I want to say many thanks, Sarah and Michaela, for such an inspiring conversation. Thanks for sharing your story. Thank all of you for attending this interactive webinar and discovering how easy it is to have an inclusive STEAM classroom. If you'd like to experience how easy it is to teach STEM and coding with virtual robots, please go to our CoderZ.com website and take a look for more information. I guess I want to share our big announcement that I've been holding off to the end here. So I want to make sure, I want to say thank you for participating. I want to say we hope everyone is staying safe and healthy during these challenging times for everyone. We understand that the global spread of COVID-19 is affecting every one of us, and schools are all implementing distance learning programs, and I'm impressed with how quickly those programs have been implemented, mostly as a parent's perspective. But the CoderZ team has partnered with Amazon Future Engineer. Their goal is to increase access to computer science from childhood to career for underrepresented or underserved students. And Amazon Future Engineer is offering a free, absolutely free virtual robotics and coding course for any student or teacher affected by school closures due to COVID-19 here in the United States. So you guys are welcome to sign up. Students and teachers at primary schools, at middle schools, at high schools are invited to program their own virtual robots through the CoderZ platform. We do have curriculum for all sizes there. There is a primary school, a elementary school program, there's middle school programs, there's high school program just using a text editor. And did I mention that this is available all for free at no cost to you or your school from now until the end of the school year? No obligation at the end. For more information and to enroll, you can go to CoderZ.com /Amazon Future Engineers. We'll share that link with you after the webinar. We can mail it out to you guys where you can get that link. Keep an eye on your email. We'll be having another great STEM webinar in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. Look at your social media or our social media accounts, and we'll be delighted to have everybody again for this upcoming session. Again, thank you. 1 million thanks to Michaela and Sarah for being here today, sharing your experience and knowledge. And thanks to everybody for participating. May the code be with you.